Hello everyone, and welcome to another sit down and talk type of video. Today I would like to talk about something that's been concerning me with regards to the Persona community as of late. I consider myself a pretty big fan of the Persona series. I mean, even though I've only played 3, 4, 5, and most of the spin-offs regarding those games, I still consider myself to be a pretty big fan of them. And lately I've been seeing something with regards to the Persona community that has me a little concerned, especially when it comes to the fact that there's, that remake of 4 coming out and everything. I wanted to make this video to talk about my concerns with that remake, and Atlas as a whole, and, with regards to the community. Persona has a huge tourist problem. Specifically, Persona 4 has a huge tourist problem. For the uninitiated, what a tourist is, it's a term made by people who watch, or that was coined by people who watch anime, to refer to people who join fandoms and act like they're fans but barely engage in any of the stuff that they claim to be fans of, and on top of that, just seemingly hate on anything regarding that, despite claiming to be a fan of it. And usually they'll usually try to criticize other members of said community and be like, this isn't how it's actually interpreted, this is how it's interpreted, and if you don't believe, or if you don't agree with me, you're wrong, and you're a racist or whatever. Basically, tourists are people that do nothing but cause trouble in communities while simultaneously claiming to be a fan of something. They're annoying to deal with, and it's one of the most frustrating things about being an anime fan. And unfortunately, I've been seeing more and more tourists just gravitating towards specifically the 4th entry in the Persona series, probably because it's the most palatable and least strange, arguably. It's my favorite in the series. It's my favorite in the series. So seeing that be a magnet for tourists is really painful. But the remake coming out and all, it scares me because I'm worried because Atlas has had a strange tendency to they've censored more things than I would care to, or than I'm comfortable with lately. Now, granted, it was small in the Persona 3 remake, which was good. It was small, but they did censor. Specifically, they censored things with regard to Operation Baypont that got censored, and the whole character that is actually a man but looks like a woman and stuff like that. That got censored and removed, which, in my opinion, did not need to be removed. It's just an unnecessary removal for something that the people who have complained about that, they weren't going to play Persona. They pretend like they care, like tourists. Basically, yeah, I guess the best way to describe it, tourists are basically people that claim to be fans of stuff, but more often than anything are just, well, A, lying, and B, just want to bitch about stuff related to things people like. But, yeah, because, they removed that, which was unnecessary, and they, censored the whole, implied gay thing in the original Persona 5, but, those are whatever. They were small, I let them go. But Persona 4 is arguably the most controversial with some of the stuff it includes, and it's also a game that gets frequently misunderstood by said tourists, and it's really frustrating. But I want to go through some of the things I'm worried about with regards to that, and some of the irritating interpretations, the just straight up wrong interpretations that tourists have about the game that I'm worried that Atlas might play into. I hope they don't. I am just placing my faith in them to not try to bend the knee to stupid tourists that just want to shove their politics in the goddamn anything they interact with. Because that's another thing that sucks about tourists. They like to shove politics into stuff that does not need the politics shoved into. But I'm going to go through the main ones, the biggest ones being 3 of the game's party members. I will start with, in order that they join the party, which means I'd be starting with Yosuke. Now, Yosuke is a character that has a lot of, that people have a lot of complaints about because they try to claim that he's homophobic. Which, I mean, he says some things that make it clear he's not completely comfortable with the idea that Kanji might be gay, but frankly, why should he have to be? On top of that, he's also just, you know, he's a freaking teenage boy. He doesn't fully understand, you know, the types of things those people would go through, you know, plain and simple, he doesn't understand them. He's young. He doesn't understand that, you know, whatever. I don't see it as a problem, and on top of that, he's not even homophobic. He just is uncomfortable with the idea that Kanji might be gay, which I guess could be considered that, but who the fuck cares? It's a video game, they're fake, they're not even real characters. If you're complaining about that, you need to have bigger problems. You have so little problems in your life if that's the thing you're complaining about. And on top of that, it's not even that bad. It's just like a few scenes that are meant to be funny, but people are taking them this fucking seriously. But like on top of that, people are like begging, and I mean like frothing at the mouth, begging for them to include a supposed removed gay romance option that was supposed to be in the original game, and I am here to be the first one. Okay, that's a lie, but probably close to the first one to just remind people there was no evidence that that cut line was meant to be in a romantic context. Like, yes, or, well, not in a romantic context. It was meant to be in a romantic context, but there's nothing about the removed line to suggest that it was supposed to be a romance option for the main character, for Yosuke. Not a single thing suggests that. It just, the only thing that people are just assuming that because it's a line that's clear that is meant to be a romantic line. Nothing saying it was meant to be for the main character. Hell, to me, when I listen to it, it sounds more like he's, like, grieving over something, like, say, the loss of someone he had a crush on. You know, like the girl that dies at the very start that he had a crush on. On top of that, people keep trying to claim stuff like, oh, he's queer-coded, oh, you know, he's in the closet, and it's like, and, like, people argue, okay, no, he's not, and what evidence do you have that he supposedly is, and it's just like, or, like, because people say that, like, well, that makes no sense. Why would you give him a gay option when the character clearly isn't gay? And they're like, well, he's clearly just in the closet. And it's like, where's the proof in that? There is literally no evidence to support that he is in the closet. Because you claim it's there, but when there's literally no evidence, no lines of dialogue, nothing that suggests that he might be, if anything, with his clear uncomfortableness towards the idea of Kanji being gay, that kind of implies the exact opposite. If anything, if anything, I could see him being homophobic more than I'd see him being gay. Like, I already don't believe he's homophobic, but I would sooner believe he's homophobic than he's gay. But, like, people will try to claim that there's, like, proof, but there's just none. And their proof is just, well, it's obvious. And it's like, okay, how is it obvious? They never show any, like, people who claim that never show any actual hard proof. And it's just like, quit trying to claim stuff about a character you clearly know nothing about. Because if you're trying to claim that there is some supposed, like stuff that implies it, you clearly never played the game. You're just a freaking liar. That, or you're just really unobservant. Or you're desperately looking for inclusion where it definitely isn't. But, you know, whatever, that's one of many reasons why I don't like it. Like, it doesn't need to be included, it was removed for a reason. And on top of that, again, there was no evidence to support that it was actually a gay option with the main character in Yosuke. Like, the only ones to ever suggest that were Did You Know Gaming, and even they didn't show evidence, they just suggested that it could have been. They didn't do something so stupid as to say it actually was, they just said that it could have been. And again, there's more evidence to support he's straight, because again, he's uncomfortable with Kanji possibly being gay, and you know, again, he has a crush on a girl at the start of the game. Like, clearly, he's not. It's just like, I hate when people try to claim stuff about characters that they clearly don't understand. But you know what? That's enough about Yosuke. Let's move on to the next character in line, which would be Kanji, who, you know, plain and simple, he isn't gay. Sure, you might be like, but his shadow clearly is. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. His shadow isn't a 1-to-1 representation of him. Yes, it's a part of him, but here's the thing. What people seem to miss about shadows and how they interpret people's struggles and trauma, they take their struggles and their trauma and they turn it up to the nth degree. They take it and they make it the most intense, overblown version of what they don't want people to see. Kanji is a man who wants to be seen as a man, but has very girly hobbies that he hides. And he's so desperate for people to see him as a man that he is afraid of anyone finding out he likes things that we stereotypically associated with girly things. So here's the thing. That means that what the Shadow did, the Shadow wasn't, oh, he's secretly gay. The Shadow was taking the fact that he's into flamboyant things, despite being straight, and boosting it as hard as it could, like taking that and taking it to the most extreme degree by making him the most flamboyantly gay man that you could possibly be. That is his worry of people seeing him as less of a man and boosting it up as hard as it possibly can be. Kanji isn't gay. And the biggest piece of evidence, and again, he's into a woman. He's in the Naruto very clearly, and people are like, oh, well, he was clearly into her before he knew she was a woman. Here's the thing. What people seem to realize, or seem to miss, is that he wasn't into her. He was very clearly annoyed because he realized that he found her attractive. He found her attractive while he thought he was a man, and instead of him being like, I'm into her, it's very clear that instead of being like, I'm into her, it's like, God damn it, why do I find this person who is a man, who I'm not, and when I'm not into men, why do I find this person that I think is a man attractive? He's bothered by it, and it plays into his trauma because the fact that he finds someone that he thinks is a man attractive plays into the fact that he's worried about being seen as a masculine. It's meant to play into his trauma, or it's meant to play into his insecurities, the fact that he finds someone that he thinks is a man attractive. So he believes, so it bothers him because it's just yet another thing that makes him worry that people see him as emasculine for it. Like, it's just, people don't get these things, like, because the moment he stops being worried about it is the moment he has confirmation that she is a girl. That's when he is no longer worried about it. You can tell by his facial expressions that he clearly was worried that being... Oh my god. Yeah, in case you didn't realize, this is not in fact post-commentary. I am playing this while talking, which is why sometimes I ramble a bit. But anyway, as I was saying, it's very clear that he is still straight. And it's just that he is confused as to why he finds a man attractive when he knows that he's straight. And it's meant to play into his whole not wanting to be seen as a masculine thing. But, you know, that's the most I can say on it. It's like, it's the facial expressions, it's the way he acts, and it's the way he acts after Naruto is confirmed to be female, that, to me, prove that that's what they were going for. But, anyway, time to move on to the last character I have concerns about, and that is the character I, again, just mentioned, which is ironic, because each character led into each other with their concerns. Naoto. Probably my favorite of the party members in that game. Naoto, plain and simple, and I'm going to say this as plainly and brutally honest as possible, Naoto is not trans. I don't know why several people try to claim that she is. She is not. Not even close. She is as fucking, she is as female can get. She has not been, never has been, and was never intended to be trans. The whole point of her character is that she is a woman in a very male-dominated work environment. So in order to let herself be taken more seriously as a detective, she dresses up and acts like a man, even though she's not. And the proof to me that these people, because like there is not a single thing to suggest that she is, and it very clearly is stated that she's not. Like, she's obviously just straight up female. And the thing is, it'd be fine if this was, of all of these things were a headcanon, but they're not. People state this shit like it's fact. It's not fact. It's your own personal headcanon. These tourists, and this is what irritates me, these tourists take their headcanon and they run with it like it's a matter of fact, and they attack people for not agreeing with them for something that is very clearly not the case. Obviously these things are not the case because they're never stated to be the case. If it was even implied, I could be like, well, maybe, but it's not. It's very explicitly not stated. But like, again, with the Naruto being trans thing, like, it's very explicitly stated, and I mean to make it very clear, the shadow, her shadow, straight up confirms it. Because her shadow says, and I quote, "How could you be or why would you act like a man when you were never a man to begin with?" Plain and simple, right there in plain text. Now I might have gotten the quote a little bit wrong, but it's something to that degree. Her shadow straight up confirms the fact that she was never male. And if it's supposed to be the other way around, that makes even less sense. Because her shadow is, because in that case, it's either her shadow is confirming that she was never a man, or her shadow is, I don't know what they think her shadow is confirming, because it literally makes no sense. Like, even trying to logic in my head, it makes no sense. And I just realized the irony of Joker being a rival of Rouge, they're both thieves. That's actually quite clever. Anyway. Sorry, got distracted there, but anyway, Naruto. Because like it never implies that, and in fact, her social link pretty much, if you believe that whole thing, you are going against the entire point of her social link. Where the whole point of her social link is making her more comfortable and more okay with being a woman. Like literally, especially with her romance, the entire point is making her realize how thankful she is to actually be a woman, and how much she appreciates being a woman, especially if you go with the romance option. It's actually one of the most adorable romance options in the game. And you take away from that by trying to claim that the character is trans. Like, we don't need to shove representation where it isn't. That's the problem. It's fine if the representation is clearly meant to be there, but it's not. Not everything needs representation in it. And trying to show it where it isn't and then getting mad at people for clearly seeing that it isn't there makes you a complete and utter asshole. And I just wish these people would just get out of our community. We don't want you here. We just want to enjoy our non-political game. Hell, it's ironic. They don't even target Persona 5 with politics very much. And that's the game where one of your targets is a literal politician. You'd think that's the one they'd target. You'd think they'd be like, oh, clearly Shido represents ex-politician. No, they don't. But they don't do that. That's what's weird. They don't. They only target Persona 4, and that's what worries me, because I am worried that Atlas will see these complaints, see what people are claiming they want in this game, and listen to the tourists instead of the actual fans. And I'm worried that they'll do that. I'm praying to God that they don't. But it starts small. It started small with the change from with 2 gay guys to 2 cross-dressers. It started small with changing the character that some people interpret to be trans. Personally, I didn't interpret it that way. I interpreted it to be a guy pretending to be a girl. But, you know, it's to what each people interpret, but they changed these small things that didn't need to be changed, and it starts with something small before it turns into something that's a bigger problem. And I hope that Atlas don't do it. But they might. That's the worry. They could, and I just hope they don't. But anyway, I said everything I think I have to say on that. Thank you for sitting down and listening. And if you didn't, well, thanks for clicking on the video. And if you didn't click on the video, well, then you're not hearing this, so it doesn't matter anyway. Well, see you guys next time I decide to make a video. Bye.